Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from A Job for a Cowboy, Moon Healer, out February 23rd on Metal Blade Records. The album has 8 tracks, 39 minutes in length, and this is the band's 5th full-length studio album. They are an American technical death metal band. As far as the design goes, this album has a lot of great qualities, but it could have been slightly better. I know I feel like I'm contradicting myself, but I'm not. Let me start off with the great qualities of the album, and then I'll explain how I feel like this album could have been better. As far as the way it's put together, it's an album that's very balanced, that it's very cohesive, and very compact. But when you have 8 songs in 39 minutes, it lends itself to it. It's an album that doesn't oversaturate the listener and enhances the quality of the individual songs, overall giving quality to the collective. It also has a great opening track, Beyond the Chemical Doorway. A song that it really says it all in the title. It opens the door to what the experience of this album is going to be all about. It has ingredients that are going to permeate throughout the entire record, and it has a hint of this psychedelic atmosphere that is also very noticeable throughout the entire album. So great way to start a record, to start a journey, to start a listening experience. How could have this album been better? I think A Sorrow-Filled Moon is a track that should have closed the album. It has all the right ingredients. When you listen to this record and you get to that song, you feel like the album should have ended there because it ties in really well to a very similar experience that you get Beyond the Chemical Doorway, the opening track. So these two tracks are somewhat connected to one another, and having the ability to connect these two songs and putting them as both bookends of the overall design definitely would have made the album experience feel more complete. As far as the sound on this record is concerned, I have to go back to that opening song, Beyond the Chemical Doorway, because this album does have this haze, this slight atmospheric of this psychedelic sound that you also see that in the cover of the album, but it's really noticeable, perhaps in some songs more than others, but it's really noticeable throughout the entire album. It plays a very important role in order to situate the record and in order to give you this underlining atmosphere that really glues the songs well, and it gives you a sense of continuity from one to the next. From a more sound perspective, the record goes beyond that atmosphere, and it's an album that really lives off from 2 elements. One is the heaviness and how thick that heaviness is, and the other one is the technical ability and the technical side of that same heaviness. The two are intertwined. One lives off of the other, and the two complement each other. The heavier side of this record is enhanced by 2 separate elements. The consistency of the drum sound that allows that heaviness to stay very compact and adds to the overall feel of how this album is balanced and compact as well. And then obviously the guitars. The guitars are heavy on this record, and they play a very important role in merging that heaviness with the heaviness that you're getting from the drums. But you have a duality of aspects there, because the guitars also tie in really well with the bass sound, which emphasizes the more technical side of the album. This record has incredible bass work from beginning to end. It pops so much, but it doesn't pop in a way that overshadows everything else. It always feels like a layer. It always feels like it's underneath the drums and it's underneath the guitars, but it's so impactful, it's so noticeable that even though it comes across as a layer underneath the other elements, it always rises to the surface. And I think this is a great ability because it adds texture to the record, it adds that technical aspect to the album, but it doesn't take anything away from the overall heaviness and the overall brutality. And the same could be said for the guitars. That duality of guitar sound, keeping the heavier side up in the mix, keeping more in the forefront of the mix, and then bringing the technical side, almost merging it better with the bass sound, allows you to have a lot of depth in these songs. This is an album that is super textured from beginning to end. You can see all of the different movements. Sometimes the movements within those different layers of the album are not necessarily going in the same direction, which creates a little bit of chaos, but that chaos also adds to the brutality and heaviness of the album. So it's a record that has, from a soundscape perspective, a lot of moving parts. And when you listen to this album, it almost makes it a little bit difficult to understand how exactly they were able to bring it together and not create a chaotic experience all around, because the album actually feels very easy to digest and very easy to understand and very easy to immerse yourself into, considering all of these moving parts, considering the heaviness of the album, and considering the technical side of it as well. Now, when it comes to the vocal performance, I felt like the vocals added consistency specifically to the heavier side and to that more thick aspect that the album puts together. It definitely doesn't go away from there. It stays very connected, it stays very compact, but I also enjoy the layers that the vocals have throughout this record. You really see that, and it's another element of adding depth. This is an album that adds a lot of depth and a lot of movement within the sound, and you see some of that translating to the vocal performance and how the vocals are put together with those layers, allowing you to see that this is a record that across all of its elements has a lot of life and has a lot of energy. It's not just about being heavy for the sake of being heavy. It's also about taking you on different paths, making you feel like you're having almost an out-of-body experience, and that's where the psychedelic haze comes in order to just put a signature fingerprint on that overall vibe, on that overall atmosphere. Considering that it's been 10 years since their last record, I was not disappointed with this album. It's an album that, from a design point of view, like I said, it could have felt more complete, but it's also an album that has a lot of great qualities, and it doesn't overwhelm the listener. It doesn't matter if you're a fan of technical death metal. It doesn't matter if you're a fan of death metal. I think this is an album that's easy to resonate with. It's an album that's easy to listen to, easy to connect with, because it's so well executed. The guitar playing, the bass playing, the drums, the vocals, everything is at such a high level that it doesn't matter where you are, you're able to appreciate this album for the quality that it has. Keeping it short, to me, was definitely an added bonus to the overall winning formula that this record puts together. As far as favorite songs, I have to start with Beyond the Chemical Doorway. I mentioned this song 3 or 4 times in this review, so I have to start there. It is a great opening track. I think it's the perfect opening track. When you look at all 8 songs, it has the right ingredients to start off the record. I really like the intro on this track as well. It has a great bass sound, an excellent bass sound. It adds to this overall experience, and it really makes the song grow and move and have a lot of movement. This is an album that doesn't just have ebbs and flows, it also has lateral movement, and this song kind of showcases a little bit of all of those different abilities. Very technical track with the bass coming across as the key dominator of that technical perspective, but the guitars pairing up really well with that same experience. Super vocal consistent throughout, and not only consistent but adding heaviness to the song, and at times that psychedelic haze permeates through, and it ties into the title, it ties into the experience. It just makes the songs feel like they have a lot more to give, and this track is definitely noticeable from that standpoint. Next we have Etched in Oblivion, one of the strongest songs vocally that this record has to offer. A lot of the times in this album, because of the technical aspect of the sound, because this is a technical death metal record, the listener is always going to gravitate perhaps a little bit more to the sound experience and to the atmosphere that comes from it. This is not one of those albums where the vocalist is going 100 miles an hour. No, it's a little bit more steady, it's a little bit more robust, it's a little bit heavier, it has a little bit more ruggedness to it, so it's a different vocal approach. So it's noticeable that the sound is creating a lot of movement, but it's not noticeable that the vocals are moving along with it. But on this track, the guitars, the drums, the bass, while still being impactful, they take a little bit of a back seat to the overall vocal performance that becomes the key dominator of the entire song. Sonically, like I said, you still have that technical side, you still have this creative experience, but it's really a track that allows the vocals to take a little bit more of center stage. The only time that I felt like the sound itself became a little bit bigger, a little bit brighter, was during the solo section. That time the song took a different paradigm, it changes paradigm and became a little bit more sonically driven, which is expected to be the case in a portion of the track like that. But overall, this is definitely one of the strongest, if not the strongest, vocally driven songs on this record. Last but not least, Into the Crystalline Crypts. This is a track that really blends this dark experience. It has this dark vibe, if you will, with a little bit of more of a brighter one. It's a total Jekyll and Hyde style song. It allows itself to be super dynamic. The guitars are very dynamic, very powerful, very impactful, and it's a song that has all of the right ebbs and flows, but it also moves sideways quite a bit. So there is chaos within this song, but it's not chaos that allows the song to fall apart. It's chaos that stays contained within a box, within the parameters of the track, and it's a song, like I said, that has always this continuous change between this dark feeling, this dark vibe, and then this brighter sound that just opens up the doors. It's like you're going from night to day. It's a continuous experience, but it changes how you perceive the song, how you see the song, and how you feel towards it. Really interesting song from that point of view because of all the chaos, all the movement, and this constant change between darkness and light. This is A Job for a Cowboy, Moon Healer, out February 23rd on Metal Blade Records. Hit me up on the comment section. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the 10-year hiatus, on the singles. I'll be looking forward to reading your comments, and I'll see you all at the next video. Take care.